Human beings are fascinating creatures. We crave growth, yet resist change. We dream big, but act small. We desire the mountain peak, but we negotiate with the climb. And that's the great paradox. We want the prize, but we fight the process. We tell ourselves, I'll start tomorrow, as if time owes us another shot. But it doesn't. Time doesn't care. Time simply asks, what will you do now? And here's what I've learned after years of observing people from every walk of life. It's not your goals that determine your future. It's your habits. Your habits shaped by your discipline. And your discipline fueled by your decision to act, whether you feel like it or not. You see, the dream is free, but the grind is sold separately. That's why I always say, success is not something you pursue. It's something you attract by the person you become. And who do you become? The answer is simple. You become whatever you consistently practice. Not once a month, not once a week, but daily, relentlessly, especially on the days you don't feel like it. You want to change your life? Then change what you do every single day. Because what you do daily is forming who you are permanently. Most people never make it not because they lack talent or ideas. No, they don't make it because they lack follow-through. They start fast and quit quietly. They get excited on Monday and exhausted by Thursday. And why? Because they haven't learned the art of forcing themselves to do what's required, especially after the feeling is gone. Emotion may start the engine, but discipline keeps the train. I remember a young man who once told me, I just need more motivation. I said, no, you don't. What you need is a decision. Motivation comes and goes, but a decision sticks. Discipline is born in the moment when you say, I will do it whether I feel like it or not. That's when the old self begins to die and the future self begins to breathe. If you wait until you feel like it, you'll be waiting forever. Feelings are fickle, but discipline is loyal. Discipline shows up when you're tired, when you're confused, when you're scared. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. It just shows up and does the work. Now let me tell you something else. The life you want is not that far away. In fact, it's already built. Yes, that version of you who is focused, clear, successful, respected, it already exists. But you won't meet that version of yourself by coasting. You meet him or her through pressure, through sacrifice, through making yourself do the uncomfortable, the inconvenient, and the necessary. You don't stumble into a better life, you force yourself into one. One disciplined day at a time. Wake up earlier. Stay focused longer. Say no more often. Say yes only to what grows you. Turn off the distraction. Turn on the vision. Trade cheap pleasure for meaningful progress. I know it's hard. Of course it's hard. That's what makes it worth it. The very thing you're avoiding is the doorway to everything you want. You don't grow by doing what's easy. You grow by doing what's essential, especially when it's difficult. Success is not built in public. It's forged in private. It's formed in early mornings, late night, quiet hours of repetition when no one's clapping. But let me tell you, if you do the work when no one's watching, you'll live a life that everyone will notice. That's the law. You must force yourself to do what the average man refuses to do, because if you don't force yourself, someone else will. Life will force you to settle. It'll force you to accept less. It'll force you into corners where you're bitter, envious, and empty. So, here's your decision. You either force yourself now, or you're forced to live with regret later. And let me add this. Forcing yourself doesn't mean you live like a robot. It means you become a master of yourself. You train your mind to serve your goals. You train your hands to build your dream. You train your eyes to see only what matters. And you train your ears to ignore the noise, because if your attention is weak, your progress will be weak. You've got to get intense about your focus. Turn your phone off. Close the door. Stop explaining yourself to people who aren't going where you're going. They don't need to understand your discipline. They don't need to understand why you disappeared for a while. You're not here to entertain them. You're here to execute a mission. And execution requires isolation. It requires precision. It requires saying, this is my window, and I'm not leaving it until something changes. Some of you are 3 focused months away from a breakthrough. Some of you are 6 weeks of discipline away from doubling your income. Some of you are 1 painful sacrifice away from changing your entire circle, your habits, your outcomes. But you'll never know unless you force yourself to try. Remember, small disciplines repeated with consistency produce massive results over time. Don't chase intensity, chase consistency. Don't wait for inspiration. Build a system. And above all, don't wait for someone to believe in you. Believe in your decision. Because at the end of the day, life will reward not the man who talks the most, but the man who acts the most. My friends, wear the masks. Be grateful for your life. And when you force yourself to act long enough, one day you'll wake up and realize you didn't just reach your goal, you became the kind of person who could never live any other way. If you're serious about changing your life, the first thing you need is clarity. Clarity is power. Without it, you're just drifting. Busy but not productive, active but not advancing. You see, you can't hit a target you haven't defined. If your goals are vague, your actions will be vague. And vague action produces vague results. That's just the law. People often say, I want to be successful. I say, what does that mean to you? Because unless you define it, you'll spend your life climbing a ladder that's leaning against the wrong wall. Success has to be specific. It has to be personal. It has to be measurable. Otherwise, you're just fooling yourself with noble-sounding wishes. The moment you put your goals on paper, something magical happens. You transfer a thought into a commitment. You turn energy into intention. Now your mind has direction. And that's important. Because the mind thrives on direction. Without direction, the mind wanders. And a wandering mind builds castles in the sky while the clock runs out on your potential. Let me tell you something. Fuzzy goals give birth to procrastination. When you don't know exactly what you want, you'll delay action. Why? Because the brain doesn't like uncertainty. It wants to preserve energy. So instead of making a move, you stall. You wait. You tell yourself, I need to think it over. But what you really need is clarity. Clarity creates momentum. When the goal is clear, the path becomes visible. And when the path is visible, you move. That's the difference between the successful and the frustrated, their level of clarity. I know some people are afraid of setting specific goals. They say, what if I fail? But let me ask you, what's worse? Failing at a clear goal or succeeding at nothing in particular? At least when you fail with clarity, you learn, you adjust, you recalibrate, you grow. But when you aim at nothing, you can't even tell if you're off track. Clarity also brings accountability. When your goals are visible, your actions become measurable. You can review, reflect, and redirect. You can look at your week and say, did what I do today bring me closer to my goal? That's how transformation happens. Not by hope, but by deliberate progress. Years ago, I had to write down exactly what I wanted to earn. Not what sounded impressive, not what felt safe, what I really wanted. And I looked at it every morning and every night. I shaped my days around it. That number gave my hours purpose. That clarity changed the way I walked into a room. It changed the books I read, the people I listened to, the decisions I made. It didn't just help me earn more, it helped me become more. So if you're ready to stop wandering and start winning, begin here. Get clear, be honest, write it down. What do you want? How soon? What will it take? What habits must change? And then read it every day until your mind stops doubting and your body starts moving. Clarity is power. And the more power you give your goals, the more power your goals will give you. Next, discipline is the great equalizer. It doesn't care where you started. It doesn't ask how gifted you are, how privileged your background was, or how many opportunities fell into your lap. Talent is wonderful, but it's not enough. Talent is a gift, and gifts are given freely. But discipline? Discipline is earned. It's forged. It's the quiet decision you make every single day to show up even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching. I've seen the most talented individuals lose their edge because they waited. They waited to feel ready. They waited to be inspired. They waited for conditions to be perfect. But success doesn't wait. Life doesn't slow down for you to catch up. It moves. And if you want to move with it, you've got to build discipline. Not just for the days when motivation is strong, but for the days when you feel tired, doubtful, unworthy, or afraid. Discipline is the engine that turns dreams into achievements. You can have the vision, the goal, the perfect plan, and it still means nothing if you can't show up for it consistently. What good is potential if it's never developed? What good is brilliance if it's never harnessed? You may not be the fastest learner, the most charismatic speaker, or the natural-born leader, but if you can out-discipline the rest, you'll rise. That's the law. I remember a young man who wanted to become wealthy, but he said, I'm not sure I have what it takes. I'm not naturally confident. I'm not the best at sales. I told him, you don't need to be the best. You need to be consistent. You need to get up every morning and do the work whether you feel like it or not. Talent may open the first door. Discipline builds the house. That young man, who once doubted himself, became one of the top performers, not because of his gifts, but because of his grit. Now, understand this. Discipline isn't glamorous. It's not always exciting. It's often repetitive. It's waking up early, saying no to distractions, making the hard call, studying when others are scrolling, investing when others are spending, practicing when others are playing. And that's why it works, because so few are willing to do it. Discipline is a choice. It's not a one-time decision. It's a lifestyle. You choose it every morning. You protect it every hour. You defend it every evening. Discipline is what makes your habits stick. It's what turns promises into progress. Without it, even the most ordinary person can produce extraordinary results. And here's the good news. Discipline compounds. The more you practice it, the stronger it gets. The first day is hard. The 10th day is still hard. But the 100th day? Now it's part of who you are. It becomes your identity. And when discipline becomes your identity, success becomes inevitable. So, if you feel behind, if you feel like others had a head start, don't worry. Just start where you are. Out-discipline the rest. Show up early. Stay later. Do it with care. Do it with consistency. Let your results speak for you. Because in the end, it's not talent that separates the successful from the struggling. It's discipline. Always has been, always will be. Most people fail not because they lack talent or time or opportunity. They fail because they're stuck in an endless cycle of negotiation with themselves. Every morning they ask the same questions. Should I work out today? Should I make those sales calls? Should I study or rest a little longer? And every time you negotiate, you weaken your resolve. Every debate chips away at your commitment. But here's the truth. Winners don't ask if they should. They've already decided that they must. If you want to succeed at anything, your business, your body, your mindset, your bank account. You have to eliminate the option of negotiation. You decide once. That's it. You make the decision that this is who you are now, and you stop entertaining arguments from your old self. You don't keep reopening the contract every morning. You signed it, you're in, period. You see, commitment is not emotion-based. If it were, no one would ever get anything done. Feelings are unreliable. They rise and fall with the weather, with sleep, with moods. You can't build a legacy on emotion. You build it on execution, discipline, follow through. That's what separates the amateurs from the professionals, the dreamers from the doers. The professional decides once, and then he doesn't ask again. The professional doesn't wonder if he'll show up, he shows up. There's something powerful about that. When your decisions no longer depend on how you feel, you gain back your power. You no longer wait for motivation because you've moved into a new arena called discipline. You wake up tired, you still go. You're frustrated, you still perform. You're uninspired, you still execute. That kind of consistency builds character. And character attracts results. I knew a man once, sharp fellow, ambitious, but every few weeks he was back at square one. Restarting, replanning, recommitting. He never got momentum because he kept renegotiating the price of success. I told him, if you just decide once and stick with it for a season without questioning, but every day, you'd be amazed at how far you'd go. And sure enough, once he stopped debating and started acting, things changed. Fast. Because progress loves clarity. And nothing is clearer than a decision that doesn't entertain debate. The reason most people stay stuck is because they still think they have time to delay, to decide, to adjust. But life rewards the resolute, the firm, the steady. Make your commitment stronger than your feeling, and you'll win. If you only move when you feel like it, you'll barely move at all. But if you learn to move because you've made the decision, you'll become unstoppable. It's no different than building a muscle. You don't grow stronger by waiting until it's convenient. You grow by committing to the work, then doing it whether your body wants to or not. That's how discipline is formed. That's how champions are made. Not through constant emotional motivation, but through unwavering execution. So don't wake up tomorrow and ask, will I do it today? Decide once, and then let that decision carry you forward every day. Success doesn't come to the most excited. It comes to the most committed, the ones who decided long ago that quitting isn't an option, that emotion is not the driver, and that their future is far too valuable to be left up to daily debates. People often get paralyzed by the size of their dreams. They look at the mountain and get overwhelmed before they even lace up their boots. But here's the secret. Nobody climbs a mountain in one giant leap. You conquer it one deliberate step at a time. That's why you've got to shrink the future down to a single clear command. What must be done today? See, goals are beautiful, but they're useless without daily action. A dream without a plan is just a wish, and a plan without daily execution is just noise. You don't write a book in a day, but you can write a page. You don't build wealth overnight, but you can save $1, make a call, learn a concept. And magic is in the daily, and discipline gives birth to the daily. I've met so many people with grand visions, big goals, lofty aspirations, but they never translate those into something tangible for today. They're always chasing what they want without grounding themselves in what needs to be done. But success doesn't respond to vague hopes. It responds to non-negotiables. Do you have a list today of the 3 things that move the needle? Have you identified the critical few, or are you still drowning in the trivial many? Let me tell you what changed my life. I stopped making to-do lists and started making must-do lists. A must-do list is short, sharp, and sacred. It's non-negotiable. If you've got 5 things that are absolutely necessary for your success, then treat them like your life depends on them, because it does. And when you finish those, you can rest, not before. When I was building my business, I used to ask myself one simple question every night. Did I win the day? Not the week, not the month, just today. Did I do what I said I would? Did I move the needle? Because if I could stack enough winning days together, the future would take care of itself. Discipline lives in today. Momentum is born in today. You don't need to conquer the whole journey, you just need to conquer this day. You just need to execute your non-negotiables with intensity and integrity, and you do that enough times in a row, and you'll look back in 6 months and hardly recognize your life. Remember this: the future always feels overwhelming because it's abstract. But the present is concrete. The present is manageable. When you turn your big goal into a daily must, you take back your power. You stop being intimidated by the dream and start being committed to the action. So write the page, make the call, take the walk, eat the right meal, study the chapter, speak the truth, work the plan. These are the bricks that build the life. And when you treat these simple daily actions as non-negotiable, you build the discipline that builds the destiny. That's the game. That's how ordinary people achieve extraordinary results. Not all at once, but one focused, powerful day at a time. We live in a world where attention is under constant attack. Every sound, every buzz, every flashing screen is a thief, quietly stealing what matters most: your focus. And without focus, you can't build, you can't grow, you can't win. Focus isn't just a strength. It's a survival skill in the game of success. And what most people don't understand is that real focus begins not with addition, but with subtraction. See, we often talk about what we need to start doing. But the more urgent question is, what must I stop doing? Because success is not only built on what you pursue, it's equally built on what you eliminate. You've got to cut the noise. You've got to remove the distractions that rob you of your destiny. Let me ask you something. What is currently stealing your time, your clarity, your energy? Is it endless scrolling? Is it gossip? Is it shallow entertainment? Every hour spent on distractions is an hour you didn't spend building your future. Attention is a currency. Spend it wisely. Don't invest your focus in things that yield no return. Don't trade your purpose for pixels. Don't give away your mind to things that don't nourish your mission. When I was on the path to building my life, I made a hard decision. I disconnected from the trivial. I didn't need to know every piece of news. I didn't need to be updated on every game or gossip or trend. I needed my attention back. I needed my mind sharp and my energy available for what mattered. And once I reclaimed my attention, I started moving faster, cleaner, stronger. That's what happens when you cut the noise, you amplify the signal. Some people say, well, I'll just manage it, I can handle a little distraction. No, you can't. Not if you want to build something great. Greatness demands sacrifice. You don't manage distractions. You eliminate them. You block the websites. You turn off the notifications. You create boundaries. You guard your time like your life depends on it. Because it does. If you can't see it in your mind, you'll never hold it in your hands. That's how it works. The first victory is always invisible. It happens in the imagination before it ever shows up in the physical. You got to picture it. You've got to see yourself walking into that future like it's already yours. Not just hoping, not just wishing, but visualizing it with such clarity that your body starts to believe it, your energy begins to shift, and your decisions begin to align. When I wanted to change my life, I didn't just write goals on paper. I built movies in my mind. I saw myself living in a better home, speaking with confidence, influencing thousands, earning what I knew I was capable of. I walked through those images every morning. I felt them. I rehearsed them. I believed in them before anyone else did. That's the power of visualization. It conditions your mind for the result before the world catches up. But here's the catch. Most people stop there. They dream, they visualize, and then they wait. And that's why their life doesn't change, because a vision without action is hallucination. A fantasy, nothing more. You can spend your life dreaming, or you can get to work. The key is to do both. Dream vividly, then work mechanically. Because motivation is emotional, it inspires you. But action is mechanical, it builds you. One without the other leaves you incomplete. You've got to combine the dream with the grind. Imagine the outcome, then back it with effort. The emotional high of motivation is powerful, but it fades. What keeps the momentum alive is discipline, routine, execution. You can't just feel your way to success. You've got to work your way there. Here's how you do it. Every morning, take a moment. Close your eyes. See your goal clearly. Picture the victory. Hear the applause. Feel the confidence. Smell the success. But when you open your eyes, don't just smile. Don't just feel good. Get up, move, make the call, write the page, lift the weight, study the material. That's how you bring the vision into reality. That's how you become unstoppable. You must marry two worlds, the internal and the external. The inner world of belief and the outer world of action. That's when the real magic happens. You show up with energy, with clarity, with fire. You don't just work, you work like it matters, because it does. And soon, something changes. The results begin to appear. Slowly, at first, then suddenly. You start living in the very future you once imagined. Not because of luck, not because of timing, but because you dared to see it first, and then refused to stop until it was real. So don't wait for permission. Don't wait until it's perfect. Picture it now and back it with action. See it, feel it, then go to war for it. You can work all day, but if you don't know what you're working towards, you'll be spinning your wheels. The most successful people, they know their numbers, they track their progress, they measure their success, and they do it relentlessly. If you're not tracking your progress, you're not in control. It's like setting sail without a map or compass. You might be moving, but you don't know if you're heading in the right direction. Success is not a vague feeling. It's a series of specific, measurable steps. You've got to track every little thing, every win, every mistake, every step forward. Why? Because progress isn't something you feel, it's something you see. It's in the numbers, the data, the results you can touch. You can't rely on emotion or inspiration to drive you day in and day out. It fades. But tracking, that keeps you grounded. It provides clarity. And clarity, my friend, is power. I've seen so many people work hard but never get ahead, simply because they don't track their efforts. They don't know where their time is going. They don't know which habits are serving them and which ones are draining them. Without measurement, you're operating in the dark. You can make all the excuses in the world, but without feedback, you're left guessing. Guessing doesn't build empires. Tracking isn't just about seeing where you're succeeding. It's about seeing where you're failing. That's the key. You've got to get real with yourself. You've got to admit where you're slipping. Maybe you didn't work as hard as you could have. Maybe you didn't make that call. Maybe you procrastinated. But here's the truth. If you don't know what's slipping, it'll slip right by you. You'll wake up months or years down the road wondering why things didn't change, and it will be because you didn't track your progress closely enough to course correct when necessary. Every day you should be reviewing your performance. Ask yourself, what went well today? What didn't? And more importantly, ask, what can I do differently tomorrow to improve? Measurement is about growth, not guilt. It's not about beating yourself up. It's about gaining clarity, staying focused, and making incremental improvements. It's about knowing exactly where you are so you can keep getting better. When I started tracking my progress, everything changed. I started paying attention to my routines. I measured the hours I spent reading, working out, and building my business. And over time, I saw exactly where my time was best spent. I also saw where I was wasting it. That's when I realized the real power of tracking. It allows you to make informed decisions. It helps you adjust your course. It ensures that your actions are aligned with your goals rather than just guessing if you're on the right path. If you want to master your life, you've got to measure it. You've got to track your actions, your results, and your habits. The more you measure, the more you'll master. And as you track your growth, you'll build momentum that propels you to even greater success. So start measuring. Don't wait for the results to come to you. Go after them, track them, and make them yours. Progress is not a mystery. It's a method. And that method is measured, tracked, and mastered. Track relentlessly. Because when you do, you'll turn your dreams into tangible, undeniable results. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. It's a truth that has shaped the success of every individual I know who has made it big. The people around you either lift you up or drag you down. They either fuel your fire or put it out. If you want to achieve greatness, you must surround yourself with the driven, the focused, and the ambitious, not the distracted, the lazy, or the complainers. Energy is contagious. I've seen it time and time again. Spend an hour with someone who's working towards something, someone who's truly motivated, and you'll leave feeling energized, focused, and ready to take action. But if you spend that same hour with someone who's stuck in negativity, who's constantly making excuses or complaining about their circumstances, it won't be long before their energy starts to rub off on you. Suddenly, you're not so focused, not so motivated, and your goals don't seem as urgent. You start negotiating with yourself, telling yourself, it's okay, I'll get to it tomorrow. That's how easy it is to get sidetracked. And before you know it, you're stuck in the same place, just like the people you've been surrounding yourself with. This is why your environment is everything. Your surroundings have a massive impact on your mindset and your productivity. You must create an environment that supports your dreams, your goals, and your relentless pursuit of success. This means surrounding yourself with people who have the same level of commitment, drive, and focus as you. These are the people who will hold you accountable, who will challenge you when you're slipping, and who will cheer you on when you're winning. They will help you stay on track. They will remind you that success isn't a luxury. It's a necessity, and it's achievable. The people you choose to spend time with can either lift you up or pull you down. That's the simple truth. You cannot afford to be around people who are content with mediocrity, who don't take their dreams seriously, or who spend their time complaining about their problems instead of solving them. I've heard people say, but they're my friends. They've always been there for me. And yes, there's nothing wrong with loyalty. But loyalty doesn't mean allowing yourself to be dragged down by people who aren't contributing positively to your life. True loyalty means being willing to elevate those around you, and sometimes that means parting ways with those who are too comfortable staying stuck. Now, that doesn't mean you have to cut people out of your life completely. It means that you have to be intentional about who you spend your time with. Make sure you're investing your time in relationships that push you to grow, Find those who share your values, your ambitions, and your work ethic. Surround yourself with people who make you better just by being in their presence. And if those people don't exist in your current circle, go find them. Attend events, read books, join groups, or look for online communities that align with your goals. Your network will become your net worth. When you spend time with the driven, you can't help but be inspired. Their passion becomes your passion. Their urgency becomes your urgency. You start setting higher standards for yourself. You start taking more action. You start making decisions quicker. You start building momentum that becomes unstoppable. Your environment shapes your success. So, stop spending time with the distracted, the negative, and the complacent. It's time to start surrounding yourself with those who are building, not babbling. Those who are relentlessly working towards their dreams, not talking about their excuses. The ones who will not allow you to settle for anything less than your best. Their energy will light your fire and their focus will fuel your own. Remember, you are who you spend time with. Make sure the people around you are the ones who inspire you to become the best version of yourself. If you want to go to the next level, it's time to elevate your circle. Surround yourself with the driven, the focused, and the unstoppable. They will help you achieve everything you've ever dreamed of, and more. To achieve something you've never had, you must become someone you've never been. This is one of the most fundamental truths of personal growth and success. You can't expect to create a new life if you're still living the same way you did yesterday. The habits you've formed, the thoughts you entertain, the actions you take, they have all contributed to the person you are today. But if you want to achieve something greater, something beyond what you've already experienced, it's time to become a new version of yourself. You see, success doesn't hand out rewards to those who are simply ready. It doesn't wait for you to be perfectly prepared, for everything to fall into place, or for the perfect moment to arrive. Success responds to those who are relentless, those who push forward despite the obstacles, those who rise each day with urgency in their hearts, knowing that time is their most valuable asset. It doesn't care if you're ready, it only cares about whether you are willing to take action and pay the price. So how do you become someone you've never been? It starts with killing the old habits, the ones that have kept you stuck, the ones that have kept you playing small. These habits are like chains holding you to your past. Maybe it's procrastination, maybe it's a lack of discipline, maybe it's negative. Whatever it is, if you want to go to the next level, you must break free from these chains. You can't continue with the same actions and expect different results. It just doesn't work that way. You need to replace those weak habits with new ones. Strong, focused, and consistent habits that will build the foundation for your future success. But it's not just about the actions you take. It's also about the thoughts you entertain. Your thoughts shape your life. If you keep thinking small, you will live small. If you keep thinking in terms of limitation, you will be limited. To achieve something you've never had, you have to begin thinking in a new way. You must begin to see yourself as capable of achieving your biggest goals. You must stop accepting mediocrity and start believing in the possibility of greatness. That belief has to be cultivated every single day through the way you think, the way you talk to yourself, and the way you see the world. But here's the catch. None of this happens by accident. Success demands urgency. It's not something you can achieve by dragging your feet, by waiting for the perfect conditions. If you want to rise, you need to rise with urgency. Every day counts. Every hour counts. The difference between those who achieve and those who don't isn't some magical talent. It's the sense of urgency they bring to their actions. They wake up every morning with a purpose, knowing that every moment is an opportunity to move closer to their goals. And let me tell you something. When you decide to make the shift, when you decide to become someone you've never been, the world will notice. Your energy will change, your mindset will change, your actions will change. You'll be unstoppable because you won't be waiting for things to happen, you'll be making them happen. Remember this, success doesn't wait for the ready. It doesn't wait for everything to line up perfectly. It responds to the relentless. So don't wait for the perfect time to act. Don't wait for some magical moment when you feel ready. Start now, with the tools you have, with the discipline you can muster, and with the urgency that will drive you forward. It's time to rise. It's time to become someone you've never been. And it's time to claim what you've never had.